The moment I stepped into my son's room, I locked the door behind me. I slid down to the floor, sitting with my back against the door. My hand shook uncontrollably as I kept switching back and forth between the main account and the alternate account on the messaging app. Again and again I checked, desperately trying to confirm whether those two accounts really belonged to the same person. The result made my scalp go numb. They were identical. Completely identical. I wrapped my arms around myself in panic, my whole body trembling beyond control. One thought dominated my mind. If that person wasn't my husband, then where was my husband? What was I supposed to do now? Ask someone for help? But who would ever believe something this bizarre? Just then, behind me, I heard soft footsteps. My body tensed instantly. I pushed myself away from the door and pressed my back against the wall. The footsteps stopped right outside the child's room. I held my breath, not daring to move. Pale moonlight filtered through the window, illuminating a corner of the room. The silence was unnatural, carrying an indescribable chill. After what felt like an eternity, I heard a hand gently settle on the doorknob. Then came the sound of it slowly turning, but the door was locked from the inside. Whoever was outside couldn't open it. My scalp tightened. My eyes never left the slightly trembling doorknob. Thankfully, not long after, the movement stopped. Footsteps faded away. I had just managed to breathe out in relief when my heart leapt straight back into my throat. From the sound of it, I knew he was heading toward the living room. My entire body went cold. Was he looking for the key? My thoughts spiraled wildly. I quietly walked to the desk, picked up the chair beside it, then returned to the door and leaned my body against the wall. My only chance was to strike the moment he opened the door. But ideally, he wouldn't find the key to this room at all. The faint rustling sounds coming from the living room sent my heart racing. I couldn't even remember where I'd put the key. After the renovation, I'd casually tossed it somewhere, never imagining I'd need it one day. I took out my phone. Sure enough, the alternate account showed a new message from my husband. Did she notice something? Why did she run into the kids' room and lock the door? Damn it. I should have waited until she fell asleep before continuing. My whole body shook violently. My back felt icy cold. The night wind blew in through the window, making me shiver. After some time, the sounds of searching in the living room gradually stopped, but there were no footsteps leaving. I started to panic. Had he found the key? Time dragged on, second by second. My body stiffened. The arm holding the chair ached and trembled with exhaustion. Outside, there was absolute silence. Not a single sound. I was certain he hadn't gone back to the master bedroom. So during all this time, what was he doing? After thinking for a moment, I quietly dragged the chair closer to the door and flipped upside down. Then I slowly sat down on the floor. If anyone opened the door from outside, the chair would fall and make noise, enough to warn me. The next morning, I jolted awake. Seeing the chair still standing where I'd left it finally gave me a bit of reassurance. But immediately after, I blamed myself. How could I have fallen asleep? I pressed my ear to the door, listening carefully. Suddenly, rapid knocking echoed through the door. My husband's gentle voice followed. "Anna, wake up." My body went rigid. I stepped back several paces before answering. I'm awake." When I led my son out of the room, I saw my husband sitting on the sofa. Breakfast he had prepared was laid out neatly on the dining table. I took my son into the bathroom and closed the door. After handing him the toothpaste, I immediately opened the messages on the alternate account. No new messages. About 5 minutes later, just before taking my son out, I instinctively checked again. This time, there was one unread message. I put sleeping pills into her porridge. This time, I'll definitely kill her. I froze where I stood. My neck went ice cold. Goosebumps rose all over my skin. "Mom, what's wrong?" My son looked up at me with clear, innocent eyes. "And nothing," I forced myself to say calmly. "Your face isn't clean yet." I lifted him onto the stool by the sink and turned on the faucet. "Oh, sorry, sweetheart. Mommy got your shirt wet." I deliberately spoke louder than usual, making sure my husband in the living room could hear. Then I took my son back into the room and slowly changed his clothes. A while later, I let him out. "Hey," I said, "he's going to be late for school. I'll buy him breakfast outside." Before the words had fully left my mouth, I grabbed my son and bolted for the door. Behind me came hurried footsteps and a worried voice calling out. I clenched my teeth, rushed into the elevator, and slammed the close button repeatedly. The door slid shut, separating me from a man who was only a few steps away. I collapsed onto the elevator floor, gasping for air. "Mom," my son stared at me. "You're scared of that man, right?" "I'm scared of him too." After dropping my son off at kindergarten, I drove straight to a DNA testing center. There was no other man in the house, so the short, coarse hairs I'd seen in the sink that morning could only belong to that husband. I registered for an expedited test. The results would be ready in 6 hours. After leaving the center, I went to school to teach. From 10 to 11:30 was a long class, but I couldn't focus at all. Suddenly, a scream, almost desperate, rang out. In the front row, a female student jumped to her feet, shouting at the boy beside her. "Who are you, really? You've never been in this class before. Why did you suddenly appear in my life 3 months ago?" The boy panicked, hurriedly packing his things as if to leave. But the girl snapped, lunging forward and grabbing his collar, shaking him violently. "Tell me, who are you? I don't have any memory of you at all." The classroom erupted as students rushed to stop her. I immediately stepped down and pulled the boy behind me. "Rose, calm down." But she only grew more hysterical, crying and screaming. Why does everyone remember him, but I'm the only one who doesn't? Not long after, the homeroom teacher arrived and hurriedly took Rose away. After class, I took the initiative to find Rose's homeroom teacher. The middle-aged man leaned back in his chair, exhaustion etched into his graying hair. Her parents already picked her up, but he sighed deeply. She insisted those weren't her real parents. The school was worried something might happen, so we contacted police. The investigation confirmed they are her biological parents. "I really don't understand it," he said, shaking his head. "How could such a well-behaved child suddenly lose her mind?" I left the office in a daze. My body felt ice cold, cold sweat soaking through my back. I thought I needed to see Rose. After asking around, I finally found Rose's house. Her mother warmly invited me inside. Rose walked out from her room and sat obediently across from me. It was hard to connect the quiet girl before me with the out-of-control student from the classroom. Under my gaze, Rose lowered her head shyly. "Teacher, I'm sorry. I've been preparing for grad school exams lately. The pressure's been really high. That's why I acted like that." From the moment I arrived, her parents had stayed close by, as if keeping watch. Suppressing the unease in my chest, I asked, "Do you still remember Peter Parker?" At the sound of the name, her parents' expressions changed instantly. Rose replied, "He's my classmate." The two adults visibly relaxed. I looked straight at Rose and asked slowly, "And what about them? Are they really your biological parents?" "What do you mean by that?" Her mother snapped, while her father stared at me warily. I didn't take my eyes off Rose. I saw a flicker of hesitation pass through her eyes. Gone in an instant. They're obviously my parents. Before I could ask anything else, her parents forced me out of the house.